Awesome. So it's my pleasure to introduce Paul Harris. He's a good colleague of mine. We've worked together a long time. I took one of his classes when I was here in school. I really enjoyed it and kind of, I don't know, feel like it kicked off some of our collaboration over the years. Paul's a professor here of biomedical informatics, also biostats and biomedical engineering, I think officially as well, but he's home with us in biomedical informatics. He's done a lot of, he's involved in a lot of cool projects. Perhaps the most widely known as the international sensation of REDCap, adopted all over the world, many institutions. It's an incredible tool to help drive research forward. So we're excited about that, but he's also involved in many other projects. I mentioned Research Match earlier. I mentioned the All of Us Research Program, Data and Research Center. He's parts of the Trial Innovation Corps and Research Innovation Corps here at Vanderbilt, a leader in many areas. I'm really glad that he's willing to come over and talk with us. Welcome, Paul.
Thanks, Robert, Mike, for the invitation, and to you all for putting up with the next 30 minutes. Robert told me if I got boring, he would give me a signal. So if you'll just give me a signal first by kind of rolling your eyes or something, then we could avoid the embarrassment. So I'm Paul Harris, as Robert mentioned. I trained as a biomedical engineer, and I still really have an engineer's heart. I love to build things. And I love even more to build things that matter. And so I get really interested and skip to work when I think about building infrastructure that's going to be used by many, many different types of research teams. So I'm going to spend some time talking a little bit about the All of Us research program today. And I'm going to end that conversation with a couple of I'm going to start the conversation with just, here's what REDCap is. The All of Us research program, is all about sort of how to get access to the platform and what interesting things people are doing with it. And then at the end, I've got a couple of skunkwork projects that I thought might be interesting for this particular group. One of them is REDCap centric, but it's all about do passive harvesting of electronic health record data from institutions that are using the REDCap platform. You can see that being put to good use, hopefully, in maybe the All of Us research program, types of programs that have consented cohort. And then the other one, I'm glad I put in because I came in right at the tail end of your first conversation, Mike, where we were talking about publications. And I've worked with a lot of different programs, including All of Us, including the CTSA program and others, where there's a lot of investment in infrastructure and training and resources, and all of them have sort of a portfolio of scientific research. And so we're doing some interesting work around using generative AI to help curate and categorize the science that's being done in All of Us. So first, I want to introduce the All of Us research program. I promise I'll go quick, but as I was talking to Robert yesterday and asked, how much will people know? He said, well, some will know quite a bit, some won't know so much, so just be quick about it. So I'll be quick about it. So the All of Us research program, when people ask me what I do for a living, I tell them biomedical informatics research, and they kind of roll their eyes and I say, oh, and there's this one project that's really, really cool. And I tell them about, this project where, the original intention was to collect, a million participants from across the U.S., pull together all types of data from those individuals, anywhere from EHR data to genomic data to survey data to Fitbit data to multi-omics data to everything that we can sort of harvest and make those available readily available for researchers to do, next generation research. The mission is still the same. The numbers are a little bit squishy, but I'll give you where we are today in a few minutes. But we're well over 500,000 individuals, maybe in the 700,000 range. With our current release of genomic data, there's about 450,000, but we're looking for having more than a million genome sequences. So, it's really about nurturing partnerships. It's that it's not a single transaction. It's a partnership when you get into consented cohorts and retention. It's also, part of that community is researchers and making sure that, we are delivering the biggest or the richest biomedical data set that we can to those individuals. And then the other group that's of course, in the ecosystem is funders. And I'll talk to you a little bit about some of the ancillary studies, or as we call them in the All of Us program, partnered research studies that are sort of coming alongside of the platform as it's maturing. And we're able to sort of do some interesting, again, ancillary studies. And I'll tell you a little bit about that framework as we go. So areas of focus, our goals are usually set every year by the CEO, who is Josh Denny at NIH. Our goals really, center around these 5 categories. There's enrollment and retention, what data types are curated and made available to researchers, ancillary studies or partnered research studies that I mentioned, researcher access and impact. That's the big part of what we do in my center here in the Data and Research Center for the All of Us program. And then finally, never forgetting that the most important role here is the participants that are entrusting their data to the program and to the larger biomedical research community. Here's how it works. Participants, go through a consenting process. They sign up for the program, and then they consent that their electronic health record data, genomic data, can be shared if that's their choice. We do leave the full participation options up to the participants, but most people say that they're happy to donate that information and data. They would then take surveys, and if they want to register a Fitbit, all kinds of ways to share their data, both actively as well as passively. Then we in the All of Us Research Data and Research Center, again, that's our award here at Vanderbilt. We take the data, we process it, and we organize it in a way that makes it useful and shareable. We do this about once a year. I'll kind of talk about those releases as we go. The DRC, that's the Data and Research Center, shares aggregate data in the data browser, public browser. But if you really want to get in and work with the data, there's a passport model for access that has worked well for the program. Researchers would request access to that. There's some legal agreements that need to happen between institutions, but only one, between institutions. And after that's in place, then researchers can, within a period of several hours, register for use, take training and go forward and do interesting research without IRB approval for specific projects. And then finally, they may publish or share, and we've got different ways that obviously publishing is a pretty well-worn path for most academic folks. But we also make some availability for sharing within the workbench itself. So the data types that we're currently working with, we have about 630,000 individuals that have completed surveys. About 509,000 of those have had physical measurements, height, weight, blood pressure, et cetera, at a collection site or a healthcare provider organization. As I mentioned, we've got about 450,000 whole genome sequences available now. About 2,700 long reads there. We've got electronic health record data on about 400,000 individuals and Fitbit data on about 60,000 individuals. This is as of our latest release of data. Again, we release about once a year, version of data about once a year. So this has been live since, what is it, February? Okay, yeah, couldn't remember. End of January or 1st of February. So that's what we're working with now, and I'll share a little bit more about what we're looking for in the next release next year. One of the compelling things about the data set is not the individual numbers for the individual types of data, it's the multimodal data and how powerful that can be. I've learned a lot of things by working in the all of us research space because it allows me to hang out with really smart people. But one of the early surprises that I had here was in our first release of the Fitbit data, we only had about 15,000 individuals, and I looked at that and thought, yeah, it's good that we're including it. It's a good first step. We'll flesh that out as we go. But I didn't really think there was going to be a lot to it in terms of being able to use it for research. I was wrong. So we had some really smart people that started combining that with the electronic health record data, with historical records, now with the genomic data, and it's amazing how powerful that. I realize I'm preaching to the choir here, but it's amazing how important it is and how the combination of data types to really amplify what the research community does. You can see some of those combinations on this slide. I mentioned this earlier. So research access. We started with sort of academic and nonprofit health organizations here in the U.S. A few years later, we expanded to allow for international researchers to sign up and participate as researchers. And then most recently, about a year and a half ago, we started allowing commercial companies, biotech companies to get in and register. There is no cost to getting in, and there's even some incentive with cloud computes to get people started. But before I get there, we again sort of recognized early on in the program that we needed some sort of public tier. We didn't need that to be terribly advanced, and we wanted to be sufficiently unadvanced to allow us to share data in a public way without worrying about privacy and re-identification of participants and so forth. And so most of the data there are primarily univariate, but it's a good place to go in, and I'll show you some QR links in a moment if you're interested in going there. But it's a good area to just sort of kick the tires and explore. It's easy to go and find whether give me the number of individuals with this type of cancer, in the data set. So it's a lot of good things there from an exploration standpoint, but it's not really made for research use. For research use, again, we decided we would try this model of passport, and that has actually worked very, very well. We have a registered tier that includes the electronic health record data, wearables data, surveys data, physical measurements. We also have a controlled tier. That controlled tier is still not readily identifiable and therefore considered non-human subjects research by the IRBs, but it's more readily identifiable than the registered tier. And so the types of data that we put in there can be a little more sensitive. For instance, we shift the dates. In the registered tier, we don't shift the dates. In the controlled tier, we have the genomics data only in the controlled tier. And really, both are available and can be available to a researcher at any time. It's really sort of governed by the tier that they can join. Is really governed by their institution's permission and some of those legal agreements that I mentioned earlier. The institutional data use and research agreement is really pretty simple, and I'll show you some statistics at the end of nearer the end of the presentation on the number of institutions that are joining in different categories. But once the DURA is signed, then once the DURA is signed, then again, researchers can wake up at 2 a.m. in the morning, think I've got some great ideas, I want to join that All of Us program. You can join it. You can go through the required training. You can declare the type of research project that you want to work on, and you can get in and start doing the work by 4 a.m. in the morning. That training is pretty hard, and that's for good reasons. But it's So as I mentioned, researchers get $300 in credit. We found over and over again that research projects that use primarily electronic health record data, survey data, that type of structured data, you can work a long time with $300 of cloud credits. Once you get into the omics data, there's still enough money to do some interesting early work. But once you get into that high density data, especially the like the Fitbit data, it does tend to sort of run up the bills, and so there is an option to put in a billing number, from you as an individual or from your organization to your lab, that can sort of absorb the cost for after that $300. So this is kind of what it looks like from the researcher. They confirm institutional access, they create an account, they complete the training, they explore the support resources, and those are significant. They then jump in and use the research bench, and hopefully in time they're going to publish that paper or papers or get that grant. We spend a lot of time on user support, and we've done some good cross-checking with other large programs like the UK Biobank, sort of how they're supporting end users, and we found the sweet spot is multimodal. Again, having office hours, having events and articles, and virtual help desks, etc. One of the things that I'm most proud of with the DRC work here at Vanderbilt is that when I go and present outside of Vanderbilt, the all of us model, almost without fail, someone comes up and says, that the support group is top notch. They answered the questions that we needed, and we were able to sort of get started really quickly. I'll skip on some of that and just kind of go through one more slide on the advantages and the disadvantages or the limitations, I would say, in the model. Early on we decided, just like AnVIL, that we wanted to bring the researchers to the data rather than sending the data to the researchers. So that allows us to securely share the data. It allows for democratization of access and a replicability because of the ability to save workspaces and so forth. But again, and I know with this group and AnVIL platform, you know all of that. So limitations would be, that the all of us cohort is not really a representative U.S. sample, so you can't just draw definitive declarations around prevalence and those sorts of things. So we don't have enough people for that, and it's not really built for that. So that's one of the things that we need to sort of talk to research teams about, sort of early on, or communicate early on. We found that there is a learning curve for data analysis tools. There's no shortage. I'm sure you hear this in AnVIL as well. There's no shortage of people that want that easy button, and it just doesn't exist. So we spent a lot of time building some tools to do exploration, cohort building, and that sort of thing. But at some point in time, you either need to know Python or R or SAS, or have someone on your team that does, that to really do rigorous and intense work. And as I mentioned, the $300 will really get you started, but you'll probably need more in time if you're doing heavy computational work. So I'm going to switch gears now. That's sort of the program. That's kind of how we built it out for the participants as well as the researchers. I want to just kind of talk a little bit about some of the impact. Sorry, I'm touching away. There we go. Yeah. So one of the things that we try to do to make sure that the scientific community is up to date, as well as our participants, is we publish on that research hub that's public. We publish there to any publication that's used all of this program. We try to make that publicly available. We also have that project directory, so that individuals sort of waking up at 4 a.m. in the morning and want to do that type 2 diabetes study. There's a space for you to declare what you're working on, and those automatically get sort of pushed for transparency. I'll talk a little bit more about, especially on the publication directory, how we're starting to jazz that one up a little bit with the generative AI work that I mentioned earlier. I always hate being, I don't love comparing myself or my teams or my work to others. I'd much rather just sort of focus on doing great things and move forward. But it's hard not to compare to the UK Biobank, given some of the similarities, but also differences with all of us. So these are some slides that look at sort of the scientific productivity of the researchers that are coming in at this stage of data release, as well as some of the publication numbers, the early publication numbers that we're seeing coming out of all of us. And so, while I'm not going to say UK Biobank is better or worse, I will say it looks like we're in the ballpark and actually doing quite well in both of those metrics. And we're starting to see a lot of publications come in. I've seen this in all of us and just about any other big program. It always takes a little time. It is a lag, as Mike mentioned, but it's so fun when they start coming in because you're sort of seeing 5 or 6 a day that are coming in, and it's very compelling to keep trying to do your best to support good solid programs when scientific impact is made. And so I won't go through the details of those recent publications, but they're getting more and more interesting as time goes along. A couple of things. These are just 3 quotes that I thought were interesting. One of them was a participant. And again, I won't do this. Will be the last time I compare us to the UK Biobank. But the UK Biobank doesn't provide results back to participants. In this program, in all of its programs, it is a key principle. And so I love the quote on the left. We're starting to talk about precision medicine and helping individuals. No better one than that one, especially the last sentence. I might not have known or been able to take action until too late. And they were talking about one of the genetic return of results triggers that they received. And then on the other side of this, for the researchers, there's some good love language around helping us finish up our work. And again, we know there's no easy buttons, but we also know there's strength and guidance coming to the workshops, et cetera. So I really love that one, and I especially love the bottom one on the right. You trained my graduate student and research fellow in GWAS. I love the fact that we're seeing more and more educators using the platform. I've used it. I know Robert Carroll has used it. It's great. I used it last in a biomedical informatics, clinical research informatics course, and it was wonderful to be able to sort of point to theory on day one, and then the next day come in with, this is how this all looks in practice. And by the way, here's the homework using the platform. So we're seeing a lot of people do that in a lot of interesting and innovative ways. I'm going to, that was sort of program wide. I want to go a little bit deeper into some of the recent stuff with the DRC. Again, our grant, as we're a grantee here, to help get the data in, organize it, make it useful, and then share it with researchers. These are the numbers. These are the numbers that compare version 7, which is the 2023 release of the data, and version 8, which is early 2025. And you can see, there was a big increase on all of those different data types. I have a slide, but I don't think I can make it public yet on what that's going to look like for 2028. For the 2026 release, but it's significantly higher. Robert? Okay, thanks. Am I out? Okay. All right, we're going straight to Skunkworks. Of course, yes. Okay, a couple of Skunkworks projects. As Robert mentioned, I spent a lot of my time also thinking about REDCap. One of the things that we've done in REDCap in the last few years has been to integrate with electronic health record systems, and that's really been useful. It sort of takes you out of the swivel chair mode of going to my electronic health record and getting the blood pressure, moving over to my second monitor and putting it into my case report forms, etc. And so we built sort of this direct integration for institutions that want to turn this on. Alex Chang here at Vanderbilt has led a lot of this work in the pictures in the bottom left. I'll keep this slide really, really short and just say that, from an evaluation standpoint, Alex did a really nice study a few years ago where we looked at a clinical trial where we had data entry here at Vanderbilt using that old approach. We cloned the database. We set up the mappings to the FHIR endpoints with Epic as part of the REDCap installation. We added the medical record numbers, and then within about 10 minutes, we had all of the data pulled in for all of the individuals. When we looked at the accuracy of that, it was more accurate. It's not surprising. We were more accurate than the humans, and certainly more efficient. So the coverage was actually quite good. We had 84% coverage of all of the ECRF fields. We could expect to get data out of the electronic health record. It took a while. This is one of those sort of slow growth pieces where it's kind of scary connecting any system to your EHR system, but we worked a lot with the REDCap consortium of partners, and I'm proud to say that we're getting really close to 80 Epic institutions that have this turned on, as well as about 15 Cerner institutions. We're doing a really, really quick pilot in the AOU space, thinking about selecting an HPO, a healthcare provider organization already submitting data to all of us, asking them to install this optional module within their REDCap system that already has this larger module turned on, to collect data on a certain number of AOU participants, pull the FHIR payloads for that, ship it over to the EHO, to the Data and Research Center, convert that to OMOP, and then compare to what's being done now, which is a much more manual process. The big idea here is that number one, we're all trying to do this. All kinds of programs trying to figure out this passive EHR collection process. So we think if we can make this work, then if we can make this work, what I'm envisioning is sort of a healthcare provider, a data provider light, so that people we can sign on individual groups, they can participate, but it costs very little money to do the actual data pieces of this. I think that's my hook. So I'll tell you next time about how the other stuff works. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. I think that was great, and I hate to kick them off. I know there's some really interesting work that they were doing too. I want to highlight, this is where I think opportunities for AnVIL come in. If you're a user of AnVIL, all of us, very similar platform, very similar use cases. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do, go to some validation. If you've been all of us, come on over to the AnVIL, right? Again, very similar platform, very similar tools that you can use. So I really appreciate, Paul, you walking through this. I think, again, there's lots of cool stuff that we couldn't get to, but thank you for coming. I think we need to ride on. Don't bother him. Ask questions. Is that good? Yeah. So feel free to ask Paul some questions later.
Thanks, Ryan. I will say I've been an All of Us user. I'm part of the long read working group, and it's been really exciting to have sort of match phenotype data with the amazing EHR data. I have a million questions for you, so please maybe at lunch.